This show is brought to you in part by viewers like you who joined a Patreon or become YouTube members. Thank you. And if you could, hit the like button and subscribe if you want more Browns-focused content.
Okay, so the wait is over for the Cleveland Browns in terms of what their quarterback is going to start to shape up like, right? There was this concern that the Kirk Cousins thing, and I do think the Kirk Cousins thing, regardless of where he signs, is likely not going to find its conclusion until June. I wonder if Kirk and the Falcons might have overplayed their hand here, because I'd imagine Kirk felt like the best landing spot for him, the best opportunity for him to start would be in Cleveland. And the Falcons probably thought the best trade partner for Kirk Cousins was Joe Flacco. But I don't know if the Browns wanted to wait until April 11th or even like June 1st, which this was looking like it was going to have to take until to find their quarterback. So they went out, they signed Joe Flacco to a 1-year, $4 million deal. We'll talk about the Kirk Cousins aspect of this and what this means potentially for him if he comes to Cleveland, if he doesn't, and what this means for the Browns quarterback room as well. But Joe Flacco, who, to be fair to Joe, right, as much as it was perceived as if Joe Flacco played awful last year for the Indianapolis Colts, he basically put up the same exact numbers he did in Cleveland with Indy in 6 starts, right? Cleveland last year, he was 4-1, and that was the big difference, but he threw 13 touchdowns, 8 interceptions. In Indianapolis last year, he was 2-4, but 12 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. Success percentage, about the same, 46.7 in 2023, 46.2 in 2024. So to Joe Flacco's credit, he was pretty much the same quarterback he was in Cleveland last year in Indianapolis. And coming back to Cleveland, you would anticipate that he could hopefully be that similar guy. The thing about Joe Flacco, and the thing this says about the Browns quarterback room, is he's not going to play the whole year, right? It's very unlikely Joe Flacco plays all 17 games. He hasn't played a full season for a football team since, 2017? Everything else he's done in his career, it's been partial runs, right? A partial run in Baltimore, got benched for Lamar Jackson. 2019 Denver, only played 8 games as a starter. New York, 4 games as a starter. 1 game as a starter the year after that. Then 4 games again as a starter a year after that. Cleveland, 5 games as a starter last year. Indy, 6 games as a starter, 8 appearances in total. He's not going to start 17 games for you, right? Like, this is not going to be your 17-game starter. And I think that's the ultimate difference between him and Kirk Cousins. I think the result you're going to get on the field for the 8 games or 7 games that you have with Joe Flacco might not be different from Kirk, but Joe Flacco is going to give you 7, 8 games where Kirk can give you potentially a whole season. Because he's younger and he's played a full season more recently. Joe has not played a full season as a starter since 2017. And think about where you were in 2017. It's a long time ago, right? So that is my thing with this Joe Flacco signing. It's 2 quarterbacks on the roster. We know that you usually keep 2 quarterbacks active and then 1 emergency quarterback. And that could be who you draft. Now, does this change what they do in the draft? I tend to think it makes me it's more likely that the Browns take a quarterback with pick 33 if they like Jalen Milroe, right? Because you feel like you can get through a whole season or most of the season with Joe Flacco playing and Kenny Pickett playing, and those two can hold down the fort long enough to get through the year without having to play Jalen Milroe, if that's who you want to draft, or if you see Shador or somebody else fall to 32, 33, and you can move in that direction. Maybe that's what you do, right? But what is obvious to me is that the Browns feel like the starting quarterback option for this year, very short term, right? This is a very much a let's get through this year plan at quarterback. And it's not like my favorite plan in the world, right? If you're asking me, I would have preferred if the Falcons would have released Kirk Cousins, you would have Kirk Cousins here. And I think the Browns themselves would have preferred that the Falcons wouldn't have played as many games with Kirk Cousins and they could have Kirk Cousins here because Kirk is younger. He's played a full season more recently. There's more reason to believe that he can give you a full season. Right now, I'm very nervous on the prospect of like Joe Flacco likely giving you 8 games, and then Kirk Cousins, maybe not Kirk Cousins. I got to stop calling him Kirk Cousins. Kenny Pickett giving you maybe like 6 of the rest of the season, and maybe you get a game out the rookie or something like that. That doesn't feel like it's going to be a super successful season with that run at quarterback. To be fair, the last time Joe Flacco was here, we played like 5 different quarterbacks and we won 11 games. So maybe there's something to it. But that just doesn't feel great. Joe Flacco is a upgrade, though, from all the quarterbacks you had here last year. I think he is a better fit than Jameis Winston, and he is clearly better than Deshaun Watson and clearly better than Dorian Thompson-Robinson. So even though you don't feel great about your quarterback room, right? Kenny Pickett, Joe Flacco, if we compare it to what you had last year, this is a massive upgrade to what you had last year. Is it going to be enough of an upgrade to push the Browns over 500? Well, I got a video that I was working on about that, about just how much a quarterback upgrade would mean for this team, given how bad the quarterback play was last year. But this is something that can get the Browns to hopefully not good quarterback play, not amazing quarterback play, but just functional, right? Because that was the problem last year with the Cleveland Browns. It wasn't that the quarterbacks were simply bad or that the quarterbacks weren't living up to expectation. That was the problem in 2022 and partly in 2023, was that we just had disappointing quarterback play in 2021, every year except for like 2020, right? Is that we had disappointing quarterback play and underwhelming quarterback play. The what happened in 2024 was a different beast. It wasn't underwhelming quarterback play. It was some of the worst quarterback play you have ever seen. And there are a lot of numbers that back up that however bad you think the quarterback room was last year, it was worse than it was last year. So Joe Flacco, Kenny Pickett, while I'm not doing cartwheels and backflips, and even with Kirk Cousins, I'm not doing cartwheels and backflips off the idea of bringing these guys in, I do understand that not the alternative, what you had last year was so infinitely bad that Joe Flacco, Kenny Pickett is an upgrade. Is a massive upgrade to what you had last year. Now, is it enough of an upgrade to push you into playoff territory? We'll see. We'll see what happens there. I have more concerns about the consistency with Joe Flacco at age 40, right? The thing about quarterbacks once they get older, it doesn't mean that they're not capable of giving you a good game, right? Joe Flacco's going to look like the old Joe Flacco in one of these games that he plays in Cleveland. I promise you that. He will look really good in a couple of these games. The question is, as the season progresses, as he takes these hits and gets these small injuries, does it just fall off a cliff after a while, right? He might be looking good through 3 starts, 4 starts. You might start the season hot. But once the injuries and the toll on the body progress and he's not able to recover as fast as he used to from those injuries, then how does that affect the season? How many games can he play and give you that peak performance? Or does it start to turn into he's getting tired? You can see that tiredness in his arm, and he's throwing more pick sixes like it was at the end of the 2023 run. That's why I don't think you can get a full season out of Joe. And that's why I don't think anybody's even tried to get a full season out of Joe since 2017. Because that's what happens with older quarterbacks. Either way, it seems like the Browns quarterback picture is going to be pretty solidified by the end of the draft. How aggressive they are in the draft, I don't know. I don't know who they like. I don't know who they love. I think Jalen Milroe could make some sense there. If Shedeur Sanders falls to 33 or around 33, he could make some sense there as well. But anywhere past that, it's a big question mark. Now, let's look at the whole Falcons, Kirk Cousins part of this, because I wonder how they're going to get out of this whole situation, because I don't think the Falcons want to keep Kirk Cousins. I think they wanted to get something for them, and they were being very stubborn about trying to get something for Kirk Cousins. They didn't want to work out a deal. And then also Kirk Cousins wasn't helping things, because he had this whole thing about a no trade clause before the draft, and he doesn't want to go somewhere that's going to draft the quarterback. And Kirk Cousins is a good starting option, but if he's going to limit what you can do in the draft because he doesn't want you to draft the quarterback at 33 or draft the quarterback here and there, then I think the Browns would be right to say no to that, because he's Kirk Cousins at age 37. Like, you are a temporary short-term solution at the starting quarterback position, and you really shouldn't let him dictate what your future is going to be, because like if Atlanta let him do that, they would be in a much worse position right now than they were at the start of last year, right? Like, drafting Penix was a good idea for them, right? Even though they did sign Kirk Cousins, and if you're the Browns, if somebody falls to you that makes sense, you can't say no to that, because Kirk Cousins is your option there at quarterback. So they've opted, in my opinion, like, I don't think Kirk's going to be on the roster. I would be highly shocked if Kirk's on the roster, because you've invested a lot of resources already in trying to bring in not Kirk Cousins, Kenny Pickett and Joe Flacco. So bringing in Kirk Cousins additionally to this just doesn't make sense. It seems like there's going to be a quarterback competition between Kenny Pickett and Joe Flacco, likely with Joe Flacco winning the job coming out of camp. Maybe the rookie can get in there if the Browns draft a rookie in the first couple of rounds or first 3 rounds, but more than likely it's going to be Joe Flacco versus Kenny Pickett, and then maybe a rookie thrown in there for good measure. But that's what we're looking at. We're looking at our first quarterback competition since 2017? This is the last time Joe Flacco played a full season. So very long time ago. I'm not super excited about that. I don't think anybody's excited to go back into a quarterback competition. But, you look at your options. You look at what happened last year, and I can make my peace easily with it, right? Like, it's a fine signing to do. It's just something you have to understand going into it is not going to get you through the whole season. Like, how confident are you that Kenny Pickett can string together some games here? And what are you going to do in the draft, right? Now, if they take a quarterback at 33, like a Milroe, then I think this makes a lot more sense going for Joe Flacco. But if they don't go for a Milroe and they just bring in like a Dylan Gabriel or somebody along those lines, then I think this makes, this is definitely just punting the quarterback room until next year, which, hey, if you want to do that, I don't blame you for wanting to do that, but it's not going to be a popular decision amongst the fan base. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. Everybody have a great day. Have an even better night. Peace.